Hi, my name is Adi. Today I'm going to teach you how you can learn any scale in just 3 minutes. If you haven't come across my channel before, I'm a very experienced guitar teacher, uploading lots of lessons, so please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And today I'm going to talk about accelerated learning technique, a process where we can learn our scales in a very efficient manner, making sure that we can concentrate on things that are more enjoyable about our guitar playing. So the technique today is going to be very much based on efficiencies, ensuring that we don't learn mistakes or learn corrections. Because what most people probably do when they learn a scale is they grab the piece of paper or their laptop or whatever they're learning it off. They'll put it in front of themselves, they'll try and play along with it, and what will happen is that they'll make mistakes. And when you make a mistake when you're learning something, especially from fresh, you learn that mistake. That mistake becomes embedded in your play, and you'll find that you repeat that mistake many times going forwards, and it's hard to shake off. The other thing you do is often you will correct yourself when you make a mistake. Unfortunately, that means what you do is you learn the correction as well. So you're not just learning a mistake, you're learning a correction, and that's two movements that we don't want to have. It's not a very efficient way of learning. So what we want to do is make the learning process as efficient as possible, so that when we play a scale, we play it with 100% accuracy, because that's what it's all about. We don't want to be spending our life practicing scales all the time. So we're going to split this up into 3 sections, okay? Each section would last a minute each. So if you're learning a new scale, you can just assign yourself 3 minutes to do it. If it takes 5, it takes 5. But 5 minutes is much better than 5 years to learn a scale. So the first thing I like to do is actually take your guitar out of your hand, okay? So the point about this is that it reduces temptation, because it's very tempting just to have a crack at this and play the scale too soon and make those common mistakes. That's not what we want to be doing. So the first part of our learning procedure is just literally recognising the image, recognising the pattern. Now, when I was taught that this was NASA-developed technique back from the early space missions where they had to learn complex sequences of switches and buttons and the like. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it does really work. So what I'd like to do now is to take your scale diagram that you want to learn, focus on a particular position. If you haven't got one that you'll learn at the moment, let's do C mixed Lydian, position 4. I'll ping up a picture somewhere around here. And what I want you to do is just stare at that image. Okay, just stare at it. I want you to internalize it, imprint it on your brain, what that image looks like. And at this point in time, it's just a pattern. And that's all I want you to think about. Just recognize this pattern. So look at the pattern, think where it would need to start, so where the root note is. Look at it for any kind of symmetry in it, any particular shapes that you might see in it. And just stare at it. If you like, get yourself a stopwatch and set yourself a minute to stare at it. But just have a good look at it. Because ideally I should be able to take that piece of paper away from you, and you should be able to draw it from scratch on a blank piece of paper. So at the moment, nothing musical, just a pattern. Feel free to hit the pause button. I'm not going to sit here and be quiet for a minute, but when you have, come back. So the second part of this process is more about learning this as a scale attached to your guitar. Okay, so what it would look like in practice. However, I still don't want you to use your guitar just yet, so still leave your guitar sat on the side or in a stand or wherever it is at the moment. So what I want you to do now that you know what your scale looks like, is to take away that scale diagram, that picture, turn the piece of paper over, make sure it's out of sight. I want you to imagine yourself playing it in your head on your guitar. Okay, so picture in your mind, so close your eyes if that really helps, what that scale will look like on the guitar, what frets it's going to be on, where you need to start it, and start working your way through it. Start playing through it in your head. So assign a finger to each particular note, work out any kind of awkward bits where you might have to stretch your fingers or reach across or squish them up. Work out a way of playing this. So the idea behind this is that this is where you're doing all your experimentation. Yes, you might know the pattern by now, or you should know the pattern by now. If you don't know all the pattern, just go over the bits that you know. Let's get that 100%, and we'll fill in the gaps later on. But what you're doing is you're working out now how you should play that. So you're not going to train yourself any mistakes that you might make if you weren't sure which finger to use, or if you had to realise you had to stretch a bit further and perhaps another finger's a better option. So you're ruling out all those issues. Just make sure you learn it in your head and that everything is nice and perfect. So just do that for a minute. Picture that in your head. Picture yourself playing it, ascending and descending, starting and finishing on a root note. If you've been playing a while, you might even hear the notes in your head. Try not to move your fingers too much. Again, this is just in your head, just a visual things. Just put it in your mind and in your brain, nothing more than that. Okay, on to the third section. For the third section, you do need your guitar, so now you can pick it up. Again, please leave your scale diagram upside down. You don't want that in sight. We know our scale now visually. We know what it should look like on the guitar. And if you don't know the whole thing, don't worry about it. You're only going to practice the bit that you know now. So grab your guitar. And now, because you know what your scale should look like and how it should be played, all we really need to do now is train the muscle memory. So there's not going to be any decision making made now. You've already done your decision making. So what we're going to do now is just take the guitar and just play that scale nice and confidently. My doorbell's just gone. I'm going to edit this bit out very quickly. And I'm back. So we're just looking at this scale now, and we're just training muscle memory. Okay, so all the decisions have been made, nothing more to it. Okay, we're just going to train the muscle memory. Make sure everything is nice and perfect. This isn't about speed or anything like that. We're just going to play for a minute. Again, use a stopwatch if that kind of helps you, this kind of thing. And I'm going to play this C mixed in position 4. Feel free to join in if you're doing the same scale. If not, hit pause and do your own. You're just going to play it up and down just a few times for a minute, nice and slowly. So you may notice that I played that quite slowly. Everything was a conscious effort. I made sure I made the perfect movement. I didn't get lazy. I'd seen the image in my head and I've just applied it to my guitar. Okay, so nothing unusual has happened. I'm not trying to work stuff out as I go. If I couldn't remember the whole thing, I'd just play what I remembered. Let's say I only remembered an octave. I could just play that over and over again. Note there's no jagged movements. Everything is 100% concerted effort just to really drill that scale into my memory. And that's it. So learn the scale doesn't take too long. In all my years teaching, that's always worked. I've never had anyone fail on that exercise. Okay, not everyone gets the whole position in one go, but we still get 75%. And by the second time you practice it, you've got the whole thing. It really doesn't take that long. Now, in terms of memorising this stuff, yes, you'll have to rehearse this kind of thing, but learning it from scratch, that's all you need to do. So you shouldn't constantly be needing to refer back to your scale diagram. If you are, that means that you haven't practiced, I guess. So make sure you do practice regularly. And scales are quite easy. They're a great warm-up exercise. So once you've learnt them initially, just put them right at the beginning of your practice routine. A couple of minutes practice and job done. You can get on with what you want to do for the day. Okay. If you have any similar tips for learning and scales, I'll be keen to hear them. There are lots of different ways to approach this kind of thing. Accelerated learning technique is used in lots of different ways. You can apply this particular technique to anything pattern-based. So if you're learning arpeggios, for example, it would work just as equally as well in that. Otherwise, please stick around for more lessons. Go and check out some scales. Go and check out some technique stuff. Thank you very much for watching. I shall see you soon. Take care for now.